The baseball season is here, and so we've done all the previewing. We've broken everything down. It's time to now figure out how each team is going to do. We're going to start in the American League, looking at the over-under predictions for every team in the AL, and we will kick things off in the American League East. So it is always the marquee division in MLB, the American League East, and this year is no exception as you have four very good teams residing in this division. So we'll start with the one that isn't, the Tampa Bay Rays. Their total is at 78.5. I just have to go under on this. You look at everything going on in this division with Baltimore getting better, with Boston, I would say getting better. Yankees at least staying steady, but that's with 94 wins from a season ago. And the Blue Jays pitching staff getting better, offense, you can certainly make that debate. But this is a tough spot for Tampa Bay to be in. And the thing that is going to keep their heads above water here is the pitching. They are going to need everyone on that rotation, or everyone in that rotation, to pitch to their baseball reference page, basically, to have a hope. And then they're going to need more than just one breakout from this team offensively. So I don't see them finding a way to be competitive here in the AL East, and that is why I am going under with the 78.5 for the Tampa Bay Rays. The Baltimore Orioles are up next. They are at 85.5, and I'm going a tick under on this one. Again, I think if they played in the Central, they probably win that division by 30 games. If they play in the West, I think it would be pretty competitive as well. But I think when you look at how this division is set up, yes, this might be the best lineup in the division, 1 through 9, but the pitching staff just doesn't match up with Boston, with New York, certainly not with the Toronto Blue Jays. And all of those teams, while they don't have Rushman, Henderson, Ward, Alonso, we'll see what happens with Holiday and all of those guys. Like, this is a very deep lineup that they have the best lineup of all of those. But Boston can still slug. The Yankees have to slug to stay competitive. The Blue Jays were a gold standard for offense in 2025. All of those offenses can at least hold their own with Baltimore's, but I don't think the Orioles staff comes close to being able to hold its own with the Red Sox, Yankees, and Blue Jays. So I think the Orioles, a good team, an improved team, they are going to be a problem for teams this year in the East. I just don't think they're going to be able to surpass Boston or New York or Toronto. So I do have them going slightly under at 85.5. In the middle of division, it's the Boston Red Sox. Their total is at 87.5. And again, I am going under on this one. It's the division they're in. They didn't make that big splash that a lot of people were hoping that they would. They did well in the offseason. Like, don't get me wrong. This was an offseason where they did make quite a few additions and just brought in some solid pieces here. Losing Bregman, I think hurts, but I think it's something that they were anticipating. It didn't feel like they were really in the running for him at all. But then they weren't in on Bichette, obviously. That they didn't get Tucker. They didn't make that one big move to really kind of solidify things, but it's still a really solid team. Again, I just don't think they're as good as the Yankees, and I don't think they're as good as the Blue Jays right now. It's the story that, look, I grew up a Blue Jays fan, and you can see, especially this week, with the camera so close and all the lighting, there's some grays in here, all right? So I'm a long-weathered American League East fan. It is kind of the spot that the Blue Jays were in for a long time there, where this was a good team, and good enough to win the Central, certainly, maybe the West as well, but it's just not good enough in this division right now. So Boston, really good ball team. Don't get me wrong, but I do have them going just a touch under at 87.5. The Yankees are up next. Their total came in at 90.5. I do have to go over on this one, and it pains me a touch to say complimentary things about the Yankees. This is still a very good baseball team, right? Like, I know that there's been a lot of dunking on them for running it back and everything there, but you do have to remember that they are running it back from the team that they brought in at the trade deadline. It's not like this was the same group that went 162 with the Yankees a season ago. And that's where I think there should be some optimism here for New York, because defensively it was a punchline for them, and they ran into a team that was almost exactly opposite from them, and it did show a lot of warts that they had. But defensively, this team got better when they brought in McMahon and Caballero and those guys. So defensively, I think they will be improved this season. And I think that, like McMahon and all of those guys, it's a little whatever on the offensive side, but it's an offense that can hit the hell out of a baseball. The big thing for me is how good Bednar looked in the WBC. He's going to be at the back end of that bullpen really trying to shut things down. They have been, and they've shown that they'll be very aggressive in trying to address that bullpen. I do think there are going to be some issues getting to Bednar in the ninth inning for New York, but I think that him looking as dominant as he did for some stretches there in the WBC, I think that's going to carry over into the season. The big thing for me is this pitching staff, and there's a lot of optimism coming out of New York around this rotation with Garrett Cole coming back from Tommy John, Carlos Rodon. A lot of people really excited about how healthy he is looking. If we talked about him in terms of guys who can decide the season, if Schlittler can take the step forward that you think he probably would, and Fried kind of stays the same. Like, if everyone, again, pitches to their baseball reference page, this is a dominant rotation in MLB. But Cole's coming back from Tommy John. Rodon is inconsistent and gets banged up. Fried has not been immune to injury issues either. And Schlittler is now had a full season of tape on him also. So how is he going to be able to respond to that? So there's a wide variance, and I think a lot of that comes from the starting rotation, which is why I do have them second right now in MLB, or in the American League East. And number one, obviously there's some homerism here, but I do have the Blue Jays. Gone is Bo Bichette, but this team has added a tremendous amount of starting rotation depth. You look at who the Blue Jays are missing from the rotation on opening day. Francis is going to be gone for the season. Bieber dealing with some arm issues stemming from the postseason. Same thing with Trey Savage, and Jose Barrios felt like he was fine, but apparently has a fracture in his arm. So that is a very solid, that four is better than any four Baltimore is going to put out there this season in terms of starting rotation. And yet the Blue Jays still put out a five-man unit to start that you feel comfortable with. So there are going to be challenges, obviously, but this team is positioned really well to just be able to have, and this sounds silly, but go back and watch any other team. It's not always the case. The Blue Jays are positioned to have major league caliber starting pitching regardless of injury for this upcoming season. That this is at its healthiest, it's one of the best staffs in baseball. And even now when it's not at its healthiest, it's still very, very strong. The lineup, yes, they lose something in Bichette, but I really do think that there's a breakout coming for Addison Barger. We talked about that earlier in the breakdowns. You have Dalton Varsho, who hit 450 this spring, and if he would have stayed healthy, he was hitting at a 45 home run pace last year. He just couldn't stay healthy, but he had a very good postseason. You do have to assume there's some regression coming for Springer, maybe a little bit from Ernie Clement. Again, I don't think he's going to set the record for most hits in the playoffs again, but Okamoto, I'm really excited to see what he can do, and I think there is a leveling up from Barger, a leveling up from Dalton Varsho, and Vlad Guerrero Jr. seems like he has found his ultimate form now from the playoffs and now the WBC. So I still think this lineup is going to be one that is very frustrating to pitch against with the big bat and maybe big bats in the middle. The bullpen's a question, obviously. When you blow a lead in Game 7 of the World Series, I think it's fair to question it. Rogers and Varland as a couple of guys who can just eat up a ton of innings back there and be effective. We'll see what Jimmy Garcia can come back and be. I think that they have something in Fluharty, the lefty out of the pen also. So it's a question mark, absolutely. But when Hoffman is on, he is great. And I think one of the issues he had last season was they had to work him like a dog early in the year. And we saw every win mattered for Toronto. So it worked. But I don't know if he ever found his early season form again, and that they had to really manage him the rest of the way. With Varland, a full season with him now, with Rogers, a full season with him now, you're presuming. and some other guys who got some experience from last season, Fishers, Fluharty's, and the like there. I think that he will be relied on less in every leverage situation for this club this season. So I'm going over 87.5 for the Blue Jays, and I have them winning the American League East. Let's go into the Central Division now. Up first, the Chicago White Sox, under 66.5 wins. I don't see a whole lot happening here. I understand they got Murakami, and that's fantastic for them, but not that Luis Robert was any big shakes or anything like that for this team the last couple of seasons, but there's not a whole lot of talent on this club. And when you're looking at the rest of this division, it's not the strongest, but I still don't see them really making much progress this season. Up next, the Minnesota Twins. I have them under 72.5. I think that this is now a big transition year for them. They were borderline sellers at the deadline. This team did not get better in the offseason, and now I think this will be the time Ryan gets moved out. I think Buxton probably gets moved, and I think it's the start of a full-blown teardown rebuild, whatever you want to call it, out in Minnesota, and with that, a lot of losses coming, so I have them under 72.5. This one, up next, pretty predictable if you've been watching the rest of the previews. I have Cleveland going under 78.5. The pitching staff is great, and they have been able to mix and match all along. But now with the Stephen Kwan contract situation and him not having an extension and that being a little tenuous, not that he's going to just tank it or anything like that, but I do wonder if he gets moved at some point, and the offense that has just been able to squeak by with Kwan and Ramirez and then a Hope, it's asking a lot of Jose Ramirez. So yes, I have been wrong in predicting the downfall of the Guardians before, but I think this is the time where it actually happens. So I have them under 78.5. Up next, second in the division, I have the Tigers under 85.5. And I said this before, I think a little bit of it might just be a little karmic from the weird situation with Tarek Skubal and how that all went down in arbitration. I think they got best case scenario out of a lot of dudes in that lineup a season ago, and now banking on Valdez just fitting in fine, Flaherty being very effective, and you'll see what you get out of Verlander. I just think it's too many if for this team. So I have them going under at 85.5, and I wonder. I think it's going to get to a point where there's real conversations about what they do with Tarek Skubal around the trade deadline. And so winning the division this year, I have the Kansas City Royals. They were able to pull it off a couple of seasons ago. Bobby Witt Jr. showed at the WBC that he is an absolute superstar. I think they have enough hitting, and I think the pitching can take a step forward after a bit of a rough one a season ago. So I like what Kansas City is building out there right now around Bobby Witt Jr. I think he is enough to get that team over and across the finish line as your Central Division champions, which leaves now the American League West. But before we get to that, again, want to remind you guys, if you could hit that subscribe button, it really does help grow this channel. Hit the like as well, and let me know. I can't imagine I'm going to go just straight 15 for 15 in the division with all of you agreeing with me. So let me know what you guys are thinking as we go through the American League, and we can keep the conversation going down in the comments. Up next, the AL West, it is the LA Angels at 70.5 wins. The perpetually disappointing LA Angels will once again be disappointing. Trading away Taylor Ward, bringing in a little bit of pitching help, I think is certainly needed. And like Trout was actually healthy last season and didn't really do a whole lot. Neto is a fun player. Soler, we know what he is at this point. I just don't think there's enough there, pitching wise or hitting wise, for this team to be overly competitive in a division that does feel like it's getting better. Up next, second last in the division, I have the Houston Astros. I think this is going to be a fall-off season for them. They have been able to somehow keep their heads above water with loss after loss after loss. They bring in Amai, who a lot of people are excited about out of Japan, but asking him to fill in for Framber Valdez, who vibes were bad, and I just criticized Detroit for signing him and said he could be a down for them. So now it's weird to also be criticizing Houston for not having him, but they just, I think, have taken too many hits throughout the seasons to be able to keep up at the pace that they have. And I do wonder if they get to a point where they kind of recognize that as the season goes on and make a couple of build up for next year sort of moves out there. So I'm going under with them at 85.5, which means the team without a hometown is third in the AL West. It is the Athletics. Severino was great in the WBC. That part of their game is starting to come along, but you look at some of the exciting players they have offensively. Kurtz is already in the discussion as the top first baseman in the American League or in all of baseball. Langoliers had a big bounce back season for them a year ago. So this is a team that's going to keep that progression going and be hovering right around 500, I think, this season. The Texas Rangers, I have them over 83.5 wins. Sorry. I think I've said points a few times in this too. Apologies for that. But I have them over 83.5 wins this season. I think the offense is going to be fine. I think people are really sleeping on this pitching staff. With DeGrom being relatively healthy-ish a season ago, Mackenzie Gore coming in, I think really solidifies what they're doing in that pitching rotation out in Texas, and I think that's going to be enough in this division to kind of carry them forward. I actually don't want to give too much away, but I have them making the playoffs right now. I just think they're going to be that good this year. I think the offense, like no Simeon, bringing in Nimmo, I feel like Nimmo getting away from everything in New York, I think there's going to be a little bit of motivation because he's been thrown under the bus a lot for reasons why things didn't go well with the Mets. So I think there's going to be a little bit of motivation from him, and I think there's going to be some progress from some of those exciting young hitters that have been coming up the last couple of seasons. So I think the Rangers get the job done and get over 83.5, and that leaves the Seattle Mariners. I have them over 89.5. I love this lineup. The addition of Donovan is a really, really smart move from them. It's still a little top heavy, but that top goes like 6 deep with this team. Losing Polanco was a bit of a surprise, but I think pivoting with Donovan is great. Raleigh, you can probably take under 62 home runs for the season, but he is still going to be a real factor. Julio Rodriguez, it feels like there's still another level that he could get to, and a full season of Naylor helping out as well. I like this group a lot offensively. And then the pitching staff is, again, one of the best in baseball. They do, I think, still need to add a little bit more depth in the bullpen. We saw that in the American League Championship Series where they basically fell one relief pitcher short against Toronto, but that's in Game 7 of the ALCS. So just a little bit extra help there, I think is going to go a long way for this team. But there's a reason why most power rankings have them as at least the highest ranked team in the American League, and I certainly have them winning the American League West. So those are the over-under predictions for every team in the American League. Like I said, I can't imagine we agree on every single one of them. So let me know in the comments what you are thinking about this, how you think I did, and where you disagree. Let me know. And just hit the like button. You've been here the whole time. If you're hate watching at this point, I think you just give me a thumbs up just for the effort. But also hit that subscribe button. It would really, really go a long way in helping move this channel along.